Dear Christopher, here is your friend Thomas the Tank Engine. He wanted to come out of his station yard and see the world. These stories tell you how he did it. I hope you will like them because you helped me to make them. Your loving Daddy. This is the letter, addressed to young Christopher Audrey from his father, the Reverend Wilbert Vere Audrey, that started the second book in the Railway series, aptly titled Thomas the Tank Engine. Although the second book from a series whose origins stretch beyond the date of May 12th, 1945, this video will commemorate the 80th anniversary of an icon by what he means to me. One of my earliest memories with Thomas was when my brothers and I would go to our grandma's condo on the weekend, where she would watch over us. Across the living room from our old condo was a sunroom, and that sunroom was a large wooden railway layout that I would play with. There was also a carnival set from the take and play range that I would sometimes play with. And I would also play with the Trackmaster Stowe steamwork set. Other members would be watching the home media that was put on at the time, receiving Thomas-themed gifts at either birthdays or Christmas, having my dad read some of the stories to me, which later got me to read them by myself after some encouragement, and going to dine with Thomas at the Northwest Railway Museum. Thomas has been a major part of my life, given the fact that I'm on the spectrum and have basically grown up with him. Now, on to what Thomas means to me. There are many things that surround the world of Thomas the Tank Engine. One of the more standout ideas that stems from the franchise is that of community. Not only is it a community that is built around the franchise and bolstered through the digital age, but the community that is presented in the books and show. The first one to go over is the Deputation, where the engines are concerned about the Scottish twins being sent away from the Northwestern Railway. When faced with the problem, Percy seeks advice from Edward, who suggests a deputation. After he brings it to the others, they make him talk to the Fat Controller. Even when Percy stammers through his conversation, the Fat Controller understands his concerns and announces that the twins would stay on Sodor. Another example is the famous line from Gordon after rescuing Thomas from the mine. "Remember, Thomas," Gordon said grandly, "united we stand, together we fall. You help me, and I help you." Even after all that we've seen both Thomas and Gordon gone through in the previous stories, just one moment changed everything. This is more evident in the follow-up story, Paint Pots and Queens, where both ask for the other to have their respective privileges restored. Gordon asks if Thomas can have his branch line back, and Thomas asks if Gordon can pull coaches again. The Fat Controller sees that both understand their mistakes and allows for Gordon to haul the royal train, and that Thomas would look after the coaches. And in The Great Discovery, even with the destruction of the water tower at the climax of the film, the other engines and the island as a whole come together to look for the missing number one engine. And when Stanley breaks down after helping Thomas, the latter returns the favor by pushing Stanley back to Great Wallerton. Without Thomas, the idea of community wouldn't be strong as it is now, especially with the fandom that rose from this show and have bonded over a common love, with niches being storytelling, modeling, art, history, world building, etc. In Thomas, preservation is a key factor, especially in a television series. The motto, "Make something old new again," is a recurring theme throughout the show. One episode that comes to mind is Percy and the Calliope. The Duke and Duchess of Boxford are clearing out their summer house, and one of the items that they're throwing out is an old steam calliope. During the course of the episode, Percy tries to save it before going to the Solar Steamworks and having it restored there. Also worth mentioning once more is The Great Discovery, where the major plot point is the rediscovery and restoration of Great Wallerton, and even gave us a minor yet important interaction between Goran and Percy. "What's restoration?" he whispered quietly. "Restoration?" groaned Goran loudly. "That is when you make something old look new again." This small interaction can make a large impact for the audience that will be watching the special by teaching them what restoration and, to a great extent, preservation is. And in The Great Discovery, even with the destruction of the water tower at the climax of the film, the other engines and the island as a whole come together to look for the missing number one engine. And when Stanley breaks down after helping Thomas, the latter returns the favor by pushing Stanley back to Great Wallerton. Without Thomas, the idea of community wouldn't be strong as it is now, especially with the fandom that rose from this show and have bonded over a common love, with niches being storytelling, modeling, art, history, world building, etc. The next topic to cover is responsibilities. Whether we like them or not, there's something that we have to take on eventually. Thomas is no different. The second book is about Thomas taking those responsibilities and eventually getting rewarded for his efforts. The fourth book, Tank Engine Thomas Again, shows the then young Thomas's responsibilities and seeing him learn from his mistakes. One Thomas YouTuber has stated that when Series 3 rolled around, Brett Allcroft took him in a direction that will ultimately change his character, as she made him mature. And come Series 5, he's going after others for attitudes that his younger self will have had. Even when the franchise hit its rough patches, it still went through to teach the audience how to be responsible with any and all actions that you take on in life. And although the general public would call the Fat Controller cruel for sending engines away, he values those with a hard work ethic, responsibility, and character. Speaking of character, Thomas and Friends teaches all who watch it how to be upstanding and good-natured, but not braggadocious. Episodes like Henry's Forest, Percy's Promise, Make Someone Happy, Lady Hat's Birthday Party, and Hector and the Horde come to mind when thinking of character. All the characters in the respective episodes are faced with a dilemma and all go about taking on the challenge in their own way. Showing that character and what makes them who they are builds a relation with the audience, allowing for viewers to pick up on what actions are admired by others. Having good character in one's life makes others appreciate that person who is always willing to go through hell just to put a smile on someone else's face. The character to make witty comebacks to snide remarks against someone who is teasing them, and having the character to comfort someone when they're feeling down and are about to give up. Character is something that we should all take from Thomas and apply to the real world, as the books and TV series show how to be a good and loved member of your community with your personal character and attitude towards life. In essence, what Thomas means to me is the connections that I have made and applied to the world around me. From building bonds with people to showing what it means to have a good character that leaves an impression on all who get to know me. Without Thomas, I would have never learned these and fostered my love for history and preservation of not only railways, but for buildings, vintage artifacts, world events, etc. More can be said, from perseverance to remembering those who have passed on, but those can be covered by anyone in the fandom who loves him as much as I do. The impact that he has on my life is completely profound, and I hope to keep the friend that is Thomas the Tank Engine.